Welcome, guys. It's good to see everybody here in the woodshop. This is Catherine and I's house, only the bottom part. We live right up there in an apartment above our garage. This is the woodshop. This is what's making the apartment come together. And just a little quick, this episode is brought to you today by Combat Max, the ant killing bait. It says here there are 6 child bait stations, and it kills the colony. So today, it's brought to you by Combat Max. Do we have any updates to give everybody before we jump in here? First one for me, I haven't cut my hair since...
Yeah, he's getting a little caveman vibe going. This beard, it doesn't really grow down, it grows out.
Listen, it grows both directions. It just feels like it grows out, because this is usually like in here, so there's a drastic difference here, but this, like, you don't see it much.
I don't know, I think it just goes...
Like, if your hair grew an inch longer, how much would you notice it?
Probably not at all.
If your hair grew an inch taller, how much would you notice it?
Not at all.
Yeah, I think that makes my point. So what we're going to do for the next couple weeks is we're coming at you from the workshop. I think we're going to call this the JK Workshop. Or wait, no, JK in the Workshop.
JK in the Workshop.
JK in the Workshop. So we're going to be coming at you for the next couple weeks from here. And because, as you notice, we haven't met in a long time. And a little announcement before we get started. We are actually, I don't know if you saw Adam's announcement, but we're going to actually meet back at our church May 23rd. It's a Saturday night. And then the Sunday after, we're going to start having services. So 2 on Sunday, 1 on Saturday. Yep. But we're only going to have like the one thing in the one room. We're not going to have children's ministry. We're not going to have student ministry. We're not going to have like classes, that kind of stuff. It's all going to be the one thing in the one room. So make sure you come to that. Mm-hmm. We're going to do things like social distance and masks and hand sanitizer and all sorts of stuff. But again, only the one thing in the one room. So this is going to be us for a while. And we're starting off with the series called Stuck, which we think is appropriately named, because a lot of us are feeling stuck. A lot of us are feeling stuck at home, stuck away from people, and if I'm being honest, it's kind of getting to me a little bit. Mm-hmm. And I'm not even the most stuck of people. I go to work still, and you know, a lot of people don't even do that, especially some of our older generations, like your grandparents. There's a good chance your grandparents haven't left the house for 2 months. Yeah. So the older generations have been stuck more than most of us, but we've all been stuck. We want to talk about it because being stuck is not a new thing. Mm-hmm. There have been countless times through history where people have been stuck, and we're going to actually take a couple stories from the Bible, which we have here digitally in front of us today. We're going to take a couple stories of people who were stuck in the Bible. You will also see probably a couple appearances of our dog Molly, who... She
really likes to be where we are, so...
Yeah.
She just jumped on up here.
Go lay down. Go lay down. It's time to go lay down. Go lay down. So today we're going to start off with one of these stories, and 2 guys, one of whom you've probably heard a lot, one you may not have heard so much about. Their names are Paul and Silas. And Paul and Silas were on this journey where they were just going and telling people about Jesus, right? And the story starts off kind of weird. They encounter this woman who was somehow possessed with a spirit of some sort who gave her the ability to tell people's futures. Now, when we say that she told people's futures, I don't know if she was any good at it. I don't know if she was accurate, but she did it. Right. And she was a servant to some people who were making some coin off of her. So these people, this was a slave, following Paul and Silas around. She was making money for her owners somehow. And what she was doing as she was following was kind of like taunting them, like yelling at them, different things. A good way to think about it now is she was like protesting them. Yeah. We know very much about protesting. So this woman was following these guys around, protesting them, and eventually Paul gets tired of this, and he turns around and essentially is like, "Be gone, spirit," which is where we're going to pick up the story today. If you want to follow along with us, we're in the book of Acts, chapter 16. We're starting in verse 19. Where I started telling the story from was verse 16, but we're going to pick up in verse 19 here. Katie, read for us.
All right. When her owners realized that their hope of making money was gone, they seized Paul and Silas and dragged them into the marketplace to face the authorities. They brought them before the magistrates and said, "These men are Jews and are throwing our city into an uproar by advocating customs unlawful for us Romans to accept or practice."
All right, so recap. This lady is falling around, protesting. Paul's like, "Be gone, spirit."
Peace out, spirit.
And then her owners get upset. Why did they get upset there?
Because they no longer have a way to make money off of her.
Yeah, this cash cow, golden goose, if you will, is no longer there. So what these people do is they start an uproar, right? They get upset about it. They get other people upset about it to the point that there's like a mob. And Paul and Silas get thrown in jail, which is where we're going to pick up. Paul and Silas are in jail. There's a special guard that's been assigned to them. And that's where we're going to pick up.
About midnight, Paul and Silas were praying and singing hymns to God, and the other prisoners were listening to them. Suddenly, there was such a violent earthquake that the foundations of the prison were shaken. At once, all the prison doors flew open, and everyone's chains came loose. The jailer woke up, and when he saw the prison doors open, he threw his sword and was about to kill himself because he thought the prisoners had escaped. But Paul shouted, "Don't harm yourself, we are all here."
All right. So this is a really interesting story, I think. Paul and Silas are stuck. This is the stuck part, right? They're in jail.
Very much stuck.
When you find yourself in prison, generally you
stuck.
could consider yourself stuck.
For sure.
And while they're stuck, they spend some time singing, praising Jesus. And this crazy event happens where their chains fall off, which I've never seen happen.
Wild.
Yeah, it's really cool. And not only are their chains off, the doors are open, and their opportunity to escape is ahead of them, right? This is like, if you're in jail, this is the dream, right?
Right.
My chains fell off, and the doors fell open. But, okay, so what would you do in that situation? You're in jail.
I mean, if I was being honest, I probably would have left.
Right.
I'm free. I'm not stuck anymore. So
you've never been to actual jail, but in the past, I have held you down and tickled you.
Oh, it's the worst. That's equivalent.
The equivalent must be to prison. So if I fell off,
that is my personal prison.
if I fell down and just fell asleep, you had your chance to escape, maybe
100%.
But instead of doing so, you stay there. That's crazy talk. But because of this action, because Paul and Silas don't go anywhere, the jailer that was assigned to them, it experiences this sense of relief. Because what probably would have happened to this guy? Paul and Silas are gone, right? If they left, what would have happened to him, you think?
I would imagine he'd get in a lot of trouble.
And a lot of trouble in this culture means
death.
Off with his head.
Off with his head. Yeah.
So rather than dooming this guy to a death sentence, essentially, they decided to just stay put. Right? We're in jail. We're gonna chill here. And when the jailer comes back and realizes, oh no, the doors are open, the chains are off, what's his response? He's like,
I might as well kill myself because I know that's what's coming.
At least I won't torture myself before I die.
Right.
But Paul starts like, whoa.
Hold up.
We're still here, man. And after that, if you should keep reading this story, we go on to read that this jailer and his whole family encounter Jesus and decide to follow Jesus because of the example that we see set by Paul and Silas.
It's a pretty cool story.
It's an interesting story for sure.
Story.
And here's what I want to do. So I want us to go through stories like this, and I'm just going to give you a couple pieces of thought to chew on, which is a weird way of saying that.
Chew on some thought.
Get some food for thought here, and then we're gonna give you a challenge. For you to take forward with the rest of the week, right? And then on Thursday night, we're gonna all meet together virtually, have a Zoom conversation. split up into small groups, which I recently learned you can do on Zoom. That stuff's crazy.
Pretty cool.
So let's talk about this a little bit. The first thing I want to note here is the conversation that we're having in culture right now is not new. And the conversation we're having culturally with the stay-at-home stuff, like, should we still wear masks?
Yeah.
Should I have to wear a mask? Can you tell me when I can and can't go back to work?
Right.
The conversation we're having is what's best for people, like what's best for people's health versus what's best for people's wallets.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Now, there are a lot of nuances. This is an oversimplified statement of this the conversation. And there's a lot of debate on each side. But I just wanted to point out that the idea of like what's best for my wallet and what's best for a person, that's not a new conversation. Like, this is not a new thing. We're not dealing with a level of evil or greed or anything that's new. This has been going on for thousands of years. And I'm honestly not sure where I need to land on a lot of these issues, right? There are so many questions. There's so many.
There's a lot of information coming your way from a lot of.
There's a lot of information. There's a lot of misinformation, and honestly, I understand why there's so much tension around this. But again, at its base, this conversation is not new. And another thing, the next thing I want to point out is that Paul and Silas lived out this idea that just because you can do something, just because you're able to do something, doesn't mean you should do that thing. And that's where we are as a church right now. Yeah. Just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do it. Now, I don't know how many of you read the governor's order that just came out, but it said in there that churches are able to open up, right? We're allowed to do that. We can resume business as usual if we wanted to. Sure. But just because we can do something doesn't mean we should do something. We've agreed that as a church, which leads me to my last point. The reason we could do it and we aren't doing it is because what we do, or in some cases don't do, as Christians, speaks volumes about who we are. What we do or don't do as Christians, but this is like our witness. You hear people talking about what we do or don't do speaks volumes about who we are. And as Christians, we want to say, yes, we could do this. We have the freedom to do this. Yeah. But that doesn't mean we should do it, because we want to take things seriously, like people's health, right? People's safety. And we understand that the church is not a building. We're not limited. Like, we didn't stop being a church because we couldn't meet for a while. We just had to meet in a different way. We had to meet virtually. We had to connect in different ways. So this week, I want you to just think about those things. Just because we can do something doesn't mean we should. And what we do and don't do speaks volumes to who we are. So, that's a little bit of food for thought. We'll talk about that when we come back in small groups. Yeah. But here's my challenge for the week. Monday night, so tonight, you have until like Thursday night to complete this challenge. If you don't do it by then you still have, you can do it after that. But we want to talk about it, share our stories on Thursday night when we come back. So the challenge for you this week is to give each of your siblings a day. Right? Most of us have siblings. If you don't have siblings, there's something for you too. Yeah. But what we want you to do is to give each of your siblings a day sometime this week where you pretty much say that, hey man, whatever you want to do today, I'm in. Because even though we're stuck, we think we still have the capacity to do things that are valuable. Yeah. Right? And building relationships with our siblings is incredibly valuable, especially when we go out of the way to be like selfless about it. Yeah. That doesn't happen very often, I don't think. Yeah. At least it didn't in my house growing up. So let me give you a couple examples. So now some of you have siblings in student ministry, right? Yeah. So take turns. Katie and I are going to do this week. So that means, Katie, what kind of things do you think you would do on Justin Day?
I think on Justin Day, we would spend majority of our day right here in this same spot. Justin would be building something and I would watch and then like hand him a screw when he needs it. Or maybe we would eat something really tasty. Lots of food would be involved. But sure. Mostly just watching him build stuff.
Okay, so why is that a big deal? Normally when I'm working down here, why are you not hanging out?
Because I get really bored really fast. I like to have something to do. So when Justin has this like project he's working on and I don't have a role, I'm like, dude, why? Like, can I go upstairs and do something I want to do? Because I don't want to sit here and just watch you because I'm bored and I want to do something for me.
But I like to have you
But
down
Justin
here.
loves having me down here. It means a lot.
Just because it's, I mean,
Yeah.
it's lonely.
We get to
and
hang out
we get to
and
hang out and
sharing something that he
talk.
loves to do.
listen to my music.
Yeah.
You know.
It's really
I let
lots
you
of-
control
a lot
the
of Willie
closing.
Nelson and Johnny Cash going on in here.
Now, on the other hand, whenever it's Katie Day, what are
Yeah.
some things I imagine I'll be watching movies that I don't necessarily appreciate,
But I love it.
and I will pretend to like it the whole day because I don't pretend like you. I actually like you. We'll also probably take a walk, which
Yeah.
I find incredibly boring.
Mm-hmm.
But use this example. Find a way to make a day for your younger siblings, right?
Yeah.
And if you don't have siblings, this is for you. If you don't have siblings, do this for your parents, right?
Mhm.
I know that sounds weird to say, hey, what do you want to do, Mom? And honestly, if I would have said this to my mom when I was in high school, she'd been like, oh, well, let's go do laundry, and then you can do the dishes and set the table. And that may be what it is. But we want to be the kind of people who learn to love people well, even when we don't necessarily enjoy the things they do, right? We want to be the type of people who I know if I stay here, I'm going to be in prison still. But if I leave, then it's going to suck a whole lot more for you. So
Yeah.
I'm going to be the kind of person who can sacrifice for other people. That's what we want to become. And we think that practicing loving our siblings like Jesus, loving our siblings sacrificially, can be a big deal in that direction. So,
For sure.
by Thursday, I want to hear stories of how you've done a day for your siblings. And I know you got time. I know you're still going to school a little bit. But
Few
isn't
more
this
days,
week like the
really.
last week?
I think so.
It's like
It's soon. I know that.
3 days a week.
Yeah.
You got time.
You got time.
You can't convince me you don't got time. I'm looking forward to hearing the stories that we have.
Yeah, me too. Really excited about it.
But that's all I have so far. Katie, you're going to share our stories. We're going to do Justin Day and Katie Day. I'm really excited for Justin Day.
Can't wait. A lot of video games probably on your day.
Maybe some video games.
Pumped.
But that's all we got for you guys today. Let me pray real quick.
Yeah.
And then we'll see you guys Thursday. God, thank you so much for being the type of God who can work even when we're stuck. God, we just ask that you will help us learn to love the people around us well, and help us to see that even though we are stuck right now, we're not forced to be unproductive. God, we can still move your kingdom forward even in our stuck circumstances. So help us to do that, starting with our family this week. And I pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Bye, guys.